Hey everybody, it's Dan Latto speaking, hope you're well. So I was just testing something there which was playing like an intro video. It seemed to work really well. Maybe we'll do that more. Anyway, welcome, hope you're well today. This is the Wednesday's edition of the Property Cashflow Show. My name is Dan Latto. If you've got any questions about property, then please let me know. I actually have, behind the camera, you can't see, but the wife is at home today. You'll be pleased to know. So it's a bit weird filming when somebody else is in the room and you're not talking to them, but there you go. So, so let's cover a couple of things off today. So we're going to talk about overcoming the hardest part in property investing as in general, and there are a number of different areas that I want to concentrate on today. There's 3 different areas actually, and so we'll just get straight into content really. If you've got a question, obviously just tap it down in the box down below. Let me stick up the banner for the Property Cashflow Show so I can remember what show I'm doing. That always helps. Okay, first problem we find with people wanting to get started in property is what aspect of property are they actually going to do? Is it going to be property sourcing? Is it going to be buy to let? Is it HMOs? Is it lease options? Is it rent to rent? And then people get stuck because I remember having a conversation about 2 weeks ago and I'm going, yeah, but is it HMO or is it rent to rent? And I'm like, oh, they're 2 separate things. You've got the platform that you're going to do it on, and then you've got the style of property. So the platform is, there's only 3 really that I can think of, 4, 5, 6 probably. Okay, you've got buy to let, where you're buying a house and you're renting it out. That's number 1. You've got rent to rent, where you're just renting a place for 7 years guaranteed rent from the landlord. You've got a lease option, which is exactly the same as rent to rent, except you've got a guaranteed buy price at the end of 7 or 10 years, except you have the option to purchase, not the obligation, which basically means you can choose to buy it or not, or you can just hand the keys in and walk away. So we've done buy to let, rent to rent, lease options. You've got property development, where you buy a house, you do it up and sell it. You've got BMV, which is where you buy a house below market value, and then you can either keep it or put it back on the market. You've got number 6 is you buy it at an auction, usually below market value, and then you can either develop it or, as I know a friend of mine does, he buys them in one location. So let's say he buys a house in Leeds for 40 grand, let's say, it's all very run down, and he'll take that same house and he'll put it in a London auction and see if it sells. Sometimes it'll sell for 10 grand more. Imagine that. Imagine buying a house in Leeds and then selling it within 28 days for 10 grand more. And literally that's what he does. And so he finds these places for one place and sells them in another. So that's the platforms that you've got. And then sat on top of those platforms, you've got, on top of buy to let and rent to rent and all of that kind of thing, you've got single lets, like, you know, 1 bed, 2 bed units, flats or houses. You've got HMOs, which is a multi-let, where you can rent out each individual room, and that can sit on top of a lease option or a rent to rent or a buy to let, makes no difference. So you've got single units, you've got HMOs, you've got conversion to flats or bed sits. Well, let's treat them as separate. You've got conversion to flats. So I've got a couple of these where you buy the house and you separate the house into 2 1-bed units. Or you might, the next one is where you buy a bigger house and then you separate it into the modern day studios. That's what we call them these days. But in the olden days, when Rigsby was on telly on Rising Down, they call them bed sits, and they're usually quite run down. But one of the best deals I ever saw, and I never got a chance to buy it, was in Doncaster, and it was like 6 individual units, all needed refurbing, but it was going for like £55,000 in Doncaster, and I missed that one. Otherwise I would have bought that. I would have found the money from wherever, we would have bought that, gone and done it up, refinanced the whole lot, pull all our money back out. But by the time we got around to actually speaking to the agent, it had actually already gone. Let's have a look. Got a question here. So I'm looking to buy an apartment complex to rent all rooms. Do you recommend that? Yeah, I mean, it's almost like it depends is the answer, because what's the buy price? What are you buying it for? What's the market value? How many rooms? What you're going to rent them at? What's the condition like? What are the fire regulations like? What are, you know, there's so many different variables, but if you're not going to cover off these variables, you can get yourself into a spot of bother actually. So it's an apartment complex. So is that like 4 units in one large building? I like those. The only downside to those, my pleasure, just saying thank you there, my pleasure. The only downside is you've got to watch on these basement ones. So again, we have experience of a landlord. We used to rent out all his units when we had the lettings agency in Leeds, and he'd have like 6 units. He'd bought all 6 units, but the ground floor 2 units, which were sub basement or sub ground floor, so they were in the basement, they all suffered with damp. And so you'd have, like, you know, a young mum going in with a baby, and the kid would have asthma. And we're like, you can't, you know, we're going to ask the tenant to leave, or you're going to have to come in and do something about it. So you've got to watch that, because, like, you know, I've seen it, by the way, that same flat when it was sold in Leeds maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I'm talking 10 years ago, by the way, because I've not owned a letting agency for 10 years, at least 10 years ago. And I've just seen that flat go for sale for like 30 grand, 35 grand at an auction. And I guarantee it's still got the same damp problems, because the damp course was never put in properly. So it depends on where and what it is. So you're saying it's an apartment complex near a university. Awesome. Love that. The beauty of universities, there's a couple of good things here. Just cover them off because it's interesting. The first one is that obviously you can rent to students. Okay, obvious, no university. Second one is you can rent to postgrads, people who've completed their university. So I've got a couple of units up near Leeds University as well, and we don't rent to students. We rent to people who've finished their education and they can't afford to move into a normal 1-bed flat or a house. And so they're looking at a house share. And so we rent usually to postgraduates. It's 350 quid a room. It's not top dollar. Everything's included. Local tax is included. TV license is included if you're UK based. Wi-Fi, broadband, gas, water, electricity. It's all included for £350. And that works very well, but we don't rent to students. It's just my personal choice. Then if you don't get students, postgraduates, you can then go on to just normal people who just need a place to stay. Then if you don't get them, you can also rent it out to people who live in London, you know, wife and kids kind of thing in London, but they come up and work in that local area for Monday through Friday. And, you know, we've had a lot of tenants that come through like that. And so we love those tenants because they're not in the unit enough, and it's just a place to sleep, basically, and then we go home at weekends. So there's less wear and tear, which is why we like those tenants. Usually the professional, and which is good, again, in terms of wear and tear. So I hope that's useful for you there. Thank you for your comments. Always appreciate that. Property Cashflow Show, there we go. Okay, so next up. Yeah, so what do you get started with? So then, you know, we've talked about buy to let and rent to rent and lease options. You go down a property sourcing route. And do you know how to go down a property sourcing route? Is it easy? Is it difficult? Well, we already know it's difficult, but then we also know that some people are making good money from being a property sourcer. Now, if you've not done a property sourcing training course, let me stick that on screen so you know where it is. That's not that one, that one. There we go. So if you want to find out about how to do property sourcing, then we've got a training course. It's £27. And you want to find out about compliance, we cover that. We cover everything from marketing to getting deals across the line, the whole kit and caboodle. So if you want to know how to do that, then just go to that link. Okay, let's move on to the next then. So what do you get started with? And it depends on your personal situation too, because maybe you've got 30 grand sat in the bank somewhere. Do you buy your first buy to let? Do you go into property development to replenish that money? Because as soon as you run out of £30,000, where are you going to get your next £30,000 from? And that £30,000, it could be £300,000, it could be £3 million. It's really easy to spend £3 million on deposits, and you're soon going to run out of money. And it doesn't matter how many zeros you're adding to the end of that 30,000, you're going to run out of money at some point. So at some point, you might need to buy below market value, either at an auction or direct to vendor, refurb it, refinance it, pull the money back out. You might want to sell it depending on capital gains. But you've got so many different options, and this is one of the hardest parts, is knowing where to start. And it always depends on your personal circumstances. I cringed yesterday because I saw someone saying, I've got zero money and I want to be a property sourcer. What can I do to get my first deal? And it's like, well, you're going to struggle there, because first of all, compliance is going to cost you £1,000 to get fully compliant. And yet you can kind of, you know, the line is grey, shall we say, between legal and illegal. If Tina's watching this from Property Sourcing Compliance, she's just having heart attacks right now. But some people think that line is grey, and how close to that line or how far over that line do you want to go in terms of sourcing deals when you're not fully compliant? And that's something for you to work out with your own ethical subroutines. I would recommend that you get compliant, because if you get a knock on the door from HMRC, you're going to get fined, and we don't want that for you. But starting off from zero, it's not going to work. You need to find £1,000. It's as simple as that. That's just for compliance. I see people going on property training courses and spending £3,000. I'm like, that's your compliance costs all lost. You need to get compliant, and if you haven't got £1,000, you need to find something that will get you onto a stepping stone to earn you some money. So if you've got a skill that you can sell, so we've got the rapid course creation training. That's £27. Got the link down below. Sell 30 of those. That's almost £1,000. That'll get you started. But you don't have to do something like that. Get a part-time job. Start washing cars, cleaning snow, cutting grass, chopping hedges, whatever it takes. If you make £2.50 a car, how many cars is that? Can't do the maths. Is that 40 cars? Let's probably get the calculator. Let's do £1,000 divided by £2.50. It's 400 cars. Fair enough. 400 cars, 10 cars a day, over 40 days. There you go. There's your money for compliance. It just depends how bad you want it. And I hear so many people go, well, I haven't got any money. Can you give me this for free? No, this is part of the learning that you have to go through to get the money. This is just part of the program that you've got to do. The obstacles are there for you to overcome. Most people think that the obstacles are there to stop you doing what you want to do. No. The obstacles are there so that you can learn the bits that you need to learn to overcome the obstacles to get onto the next stage. And guess what? On the next stage, there are bigger obstacles. And after that, there are bigger obstacles, and so on ad infinitum. You've just got to keep going. Okay, let's go. Next one then. Once you actually get going, the next problem I see people having is one of momentum. So they'll start off and they're all very positive and their mindset is in place, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to get going and I'm going to do this. I'm going to take over the world and this is going to be awesome. I'm going to have 18 holidays a year. And this is month one, or even worse, week one. Okay. And they get to the end of the month or the end of the week, and they're like, they haven't got any results yet. We're not multimillionaires by the end of the week. And so they get depressed about it. And so they lose momentum. And keeping that momentum going is very, very difficult. The only way to keep momentum going is to keep taking the action. You've got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. Have your to-do list, the time management. If you want access to time management, it's in my mastermind group. There's really no excuse not to know how to do that. It's in the mastermind group. We've got free training on time management. You just got to sign up for it. It's there. It's free of charge. We include it for free for you, just like the mastermind group. My job really is to remove all these excuses for you. So you've got no reason as to why you can't do something. You can't say you don't know how to do property sourcing when a training course is £27, or you don't know how to create a course when that course is £27, the course on creating courses. So, but getting momentum is absolutely vital, obviously, but then maintaining that momentum without it dropping over a longer period of time, that's very difficult. So what you want to do is you want to have long-term goals, which might be 12 months, and then you want to have short-term goals, like anything a month or more is a goal. Anything less than a month is a task. If you don't know why that is, watch the time management training. It'll explain it on that for you. But you should have monthly goals as well. And then when you start hitting those goals, we call those milestones along the journey to hitting those bigger goals. But you've got to find a way of keeping that momentum going. So I was speaking with a chap this morning on Facebook. I sent him a message about 2 weeks ago asking if he got on the Property Sourcing Compliance page, any training, I should say, and he hadn't responded, and he responded this morning. I'm like, dude, this is not good enough. Your momentum has to be up. We've got to get you putting in the work on a regular basis. You can't stop it and then start it and then stop it and start it. That's not going to happen. It's just, you're not going to get those results. Property sourcing, creating courses, running any kind of business, getting fit, losing weight, ideal relationships, whatever it happens to be, it is hard work. And unless you're putting in the effort, you're just not going to have that success. So one, you've got to find the momentum, and two, you've got to continue with that momentum. And then let's just deal with the third and final part of this puzzle then, which is really dealing with negative comments. Now, I went through a period of this about 12 years ago. Everybody said, I mean, I say 12 years ago, all my life, I should just rephrase that, all my life. Well, that won't work. Well, you're just a dreamer. You're going to do that? Who do you think you are? I've heard it a million times. And I tend not to hear it these days, but that's because my environment and the people that I surround myself with are positive, can-do kind of people who encourage you to get those results. And I don't hang around those people that are, well, that won't work. Because what's the point of hanging around those people? Let those people hang out with other people that want to have that conversation. I don't want to have that conversation. Now, sometimes it's harder because this is your parents, your brother and sister, it could be your partner, in which case you've got to decide, you know, how bad do you want this result? How bad do you want the life that you're dreaming of? Or do you want to settle like everybody else settles? That's the first thing. The second thing is you've got to put a plan in place. So let's say it's your parents, for example. How often do you want to see your parents then? Knowing that every time you see them, they're just going to put you down. And you can have a conversation around how much are you actually going to share with them, and should you be sharing anything with them at all? And maybe the answer could be no to that. You shouldn't be sharing. Well, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that. Well, that won't work. Why are you sharing that stuff in the first place? How about you go do that stuff and then you tell them, yeah, last week, no, I did that last week. Well, that won't work. Well, it did. Yeah, but it won't work. Yeah, well, it did. Look, here's the result. I've already done it. So Henry Ford said, your reputation is built on what you've done, not what you're going to do. And I love that line. It stayed with me for a long time, ever since I heard it 21 years ago. You've got to stop sharing or oversharing with people who are not fully supporting you. If you have people who fully support you, get yourself into an environment, a mastermind group, a networking group, a group where you come out to Spain and meet, whatever that happens to be. Get yourself surrounded by positive, like-minded people who want the best for you. You don't want someone who, when you buy a really nice car, they go, do you know what I mean? You don't want that. You want someone who, where you have a really nice car and go, I love that car. I'm so jealous. I love that car. How did you do that? They're the sort of people that you want to hang around with, because then when they have a measure of success and you go, I'm so jealous that you've done that. How have you done that? Explain to me. Break it down. There's one Kobe Bryant story that stood out from me for a long, long time. Michael Jordan was in the post position. It was the Lakers against the Chicago Bulls. And Jordan did a turnaround shot. And I think he got fouled on the play or something like that. He hit the shot anyway. And as Kobe ran down, he was asking Michael Jordan, how did he know where the defender was? And Jordan told him. And he had this vicious learning for wanting to be better and wanting to improve and finding out how people do this. And most people, they then ask other people who are more successful in a particular area of their life, how are you doing that? Where's the success for that coming from? Can you break it down for me? Because they're embarrassed or they're shy, or they don't want to look like they're not as intelligent in that area of life, and it's ridiculous. The reason why Kobe Bryant became Mamba and Kobe Bryant and as good as he was is because he asked everybody, how do you do that? And then he went to the gym and he practiced it a million times. So if you're getting these negative comments right now, you've got to start thinking about who is the person giving these, how much time do you want to spend with them, how much information do you want to pass with them, spend with them, sorry, yeah, how much information do you want to pass over to them, that's what I'm trying to say. And who else can you find to build a network of positive and like-minded people? And that, my friends, coming up to 20 minutes, that will do us for today. Hope that's useful for you. We are live again on Friday in the Mindset and Hustle Show, and I'll speak to you on Friday. Other than that, I hope you have a wicked week, and we'll speak to you on Friday. Take care, folks. Bye.